Hello guys, we are on the fourth game of the open file domination and let's see the game. The game is played between Rubinstein and Takas in Budapest 1926 and the game goes like c4, knight f6, d4 e6 and knight c3 d5, bishop g5, knight bd7, e3, bishop e7 and knight f3, castles and rook c1, c6, queen c2, a6. Black prepares the move b5. White reaction is logical. C takes d5. c5 is also another option and e takes d5. Now if at all black would have taken c takes d5, then he may face problems on the c file. And here if black takes the knight, then after knight takes d5, then bishop takes e7, queen takes e7, then bishop e2. White has space advantage and can use his central pawns. Now bishop d3, rook e8, castle shot, knight f8. And in this position white has three solid plans. One is related to queenside play using a minority attack, but it requires long preparation. Another is kingside play with knight e5 and f4 move. However, Rubinstein always chose plans connected with playing in the center. His next move prepares the e4 advance. He plays rook fe1 and then bishop to g4, then knight d2. The knight also supports the e4 advance with or without the move f3. It can also be transferred to the promising c5 or a5 square. Multi-purpose moves were Rubinstein's trademark, and the and we must also often as possible try to find moves like this over the board. And knight 6 d7, black offers the exchange of dark squared bishop, which is generally in white's favor. Now bishop to f4, white declines the offer. It was logical to exchange the bishops, but Rubinstein was right to refuse. White bishop on f4 will control the very important diagonal, preventing, for instance, such moves like bishop d6 or queen c7 and even rook b8. At the same time, black's e7 bishop attacks well protected white pawns, making it restricted. The bishop on f4 is definitely more active than its counterpart on e7. Now bishop to g5. Black insists and h3. Uh, White wants to keep his bishop alive. Now black can't take on f4. This is a mistake. If black takes on f4, then after e takes f4, the white bishop, light square bishop, must go to either h5 or he must go to e6. In either case, white pushes f5. If at all the bishop would have gone to h5, then there would be g4, and after bishop g6 there will be f5. So black would have lost a piece. So now if he goes like this, he may even, but the computer says queen h4 here. If this, then there is also this kind of moves. Black can give away the piece. The white's pawn structure is completely shattered, and the game would go like this. So first, better was to take the rook, then play g4 here. Even then, queen b8 is coming, and after g takes h5, queen takes f4. Now knight to e2, queen to h6. Now knight f3, queen takes, now king g2, queen h6, queen b3. But anyways, the computer is showing it's a advantage for white. Still the position is it has a good advantage. As you can see in the left side, the white bar is rising. So it was a mistake to take on f4. So white must go bishop h5, then bishop h2. The black must go bishop h5, and white goes bishop h2, then bishop g6, then bishop takes g6 and h takes g6. Now queen b3. Now the domination of the h2 bishop is evident. Black has problems in the protecting the b7 pawn. Now queen b6. Now knight to a4. Now after queen takes b3, knight takes b3, knight e6, and here even another option is bishop d8, preventing white's next move. White can go knight bc5, then after knight takes c5, knight takes c5, forcing black to put the rooks on a passive square a7. Knight after knight e6, knight a5. The knight attacks both the b7 and c6 pawns, making the move b6 impossible. Placing the knight on c5 instead, b6 would have been possible at some point. Some would say that a5 is not an outpost. That is correct, but a5 is a much better square in this position. Furthermore, the other knight can jump to c5. Rook a7, king f1. This is a prophylactic move. The king approaches the center and protects the rook, eliminating the ideas like knight takes d4, for instance, after rook c2 to double up. Rook bishop d8, b4. Black hoped to benefit from attacking the a5 knight, but it is clear now that he should have prevented knight a5 in the first place. Of course, taking the knight leads to a disaster. White will double the rooks on the b file and inevitably collect the b7 pawn. Now f5, trying to find some play on the opposite side, but weakening the e5 square. Knight b2. From d3, the knight will keep an eye on the squares c5 and e5 and stop the move f4. g5, knight d3, king f7, rook c2, preparing the possible doubling on any file. Now bishop b6. Here if bishop to c7, then after bishop takes c7, knight takes c7, then knight to c5, knight takes c5, b takes c5, knight e6, rook b2, rook to e7, rook e b1, knight d8, leads to such a passive position for black, probably undefendable. White can organize long-term patient play on the king side, using the fact that the black pieces are paralyzed due to the weakness of the b7. After bishop b6, bishop d6, a patient and strong white progressively improves his position. The bishop is ready to come to c5 and feels very comfortable, so deep in the opponent's ranks. Knight d8, knight c5, knight takes c5. Here bishop takes c5 is worse because after b takes c5, black is hopeless against the attack on b7 pawn. Knight takes c5, bishop takes c5, bishop takes c5, then b takes c5, king e7. Here rook b2, then king d7, rook eb1, king c8, and then king e2, rook e7, king f3. Now rook e4. Now in order to make progress, white must open the position on the king side. Then he will be able to exploit the paralysis of the a7 rook. White's next move is logical and direct approach. It leads to opening new files. g4. Here now g6. Then rook g1, knight f7, h4, gh4. Now here instead of gh4, knight h6 was better, but still after h takes g5, then f takes g4 check, then king g2, knight to f5, rook h1. Still black is hopeless, so black goes for gh4, then g takes f5, g takes f5, rook g7. Now knight d8, rook g8, and then f4, rook h8. Now here better was knight c4. Knight c4. He cannot take the knight. The rook is hanging. Then after rook e7, then knight b6 check is coming. Now king c7. Now king takes. So all the black pieces are tied to the defense and are passive. Rubinstein goes rook h8. Now f takes e3. F takes e3. King d7. Rook g2. Here once again knight c4 is missed. Now rook e8. Rook takes h4. Rook e7. Rook h8. King c7. And rook g8. Rook d7. Knight b3. a5. Rook knight c1. Rook a8. Knight d3. b5. And cb6. King b6. King takes b6. And the knight c5. Rook d6. a4. And rook c8. King g4. Rook a8. King f5. Rook king c7. Rook h7 check. And black resigned here because white's next move would be king e5. Okay guys, I hope you would have enjoyed the game. I'll be meeting you in the next game on this series. Thank you all.